The Groundhogs, Who Will Save the World, 1972. The Groundhogs were a difficult-to-pin-down English rock band from the late 60s and early 70s, and this album was released in one of my favorite gatefold packages back in 1972. The music of the Groundhogs is a unique strain of bluesy guitar rock with very clever, unexpected twists and turns. A bit of progressive rock, a bit of blues, a bit of humor, but never grandiose or pompous like many of the prog rock bands of the era. They were a power trio, and they really kicked out the jams when they wanted to, while remaining somehow skeletal in sound. Their blues was an abstract blues, which makes them still sound timeless today. For this album, Groundhogs guitar player and songwriter T.S. McPhee had the brilliant idea to request top American comic artist Neal Adams be brought in to do the art. Somehow, it all worked out. There is a really great interview with Adams from 2021, when the album was reissued, where he tells his version of how it all went down, and it's very entertaining, well worth reading in its entirety, and I will read a few lines from it now. I love how the interview starts when Neal Adams is asked, "How did you come to do the artwork for this Groundhogs album?" And Neal Adams says, "Apparently, there are some crazy people over there in England. They sent this proposal that was so stupid that I had to do it. It was a fold-out album that was really insane, and I thought, they won't do this. I don't know even what I charged them, but I tried to keep it low enough to make it worthwhile, because I knew I had never heard of these people, and I thought that it was probably about a 20% chance that they'd actually get it done. But they did. They even had some rough layouts and kind of a script, and I had to adapt it to the form. I'm a professional, and I can do that pretty well, so I adapted it. They gave me enough to be able to do it, which you don't usually get from clients. Clients are stupid with absolutely no brains, and this was organized and made sense. There was enough there and enough really solid good thinking that in spite of the fact that there may be people who thought that this was a stupid project, in my mind, I thought people ought to pay attention to this kind of shit because it's significant and worthwhile, and it's worth doing. If it had just been some junky piece of crap, I wouldn't have done it because I get proposed lots of stuff all the time. But these people had a point of view, and they were right. They were right 100%. I was the wrist, but they had the creativity. I loved doing the project. People would wonder. They'd come by the studio and ask, "What are you doing?" I'd say, "I'm doing the Mighty Groundhogs." Just don't ask. It was a fun project to have at the studio. The whole idea of the flaps and laying it out and unflapping it, I was like, really? Somebody will let you do that? And they were like, yeah. So this album has been reissued. I don't own that reissue, but I have seen it, and it just doesn't have the same old school flair of a 1972 era printed comic book or album artifact for that matter. The reissue is glossy, the colors are too flat, something about the faded cardboard of this original, the slightly flimsy paper, even the grunge and the previous owner's initials on my copy of this. You can't reproduce or reissue that. There's a reason I buy old records, and this is a good example of that. I don't want to make it seem like the packaging is the only reason to track this record down. Musically, it is still amazing and one of the quality Groundhogs albums, full of the mazy blues rock and flashy guitar leads that grace their best work, with tasteful splashes of keyboards, and it includes one of my favorite of their tunes, Bog Roll Blues, and even an unexpected instrumental cover of Amazing Grace, featuring some really zonked psychedelic guitar from T.S. McPhee. The Groundhogs, Who Will Save the World, 1972.